Introduce me. I'm with Move Real Estate. That's our company. Kind of has our investment, realtors, and everything all in one under one umbrella. So what I'm going to talk about today is 3 tips for new investors and 3 tips for veteran investors, and kind of what I did different and when I switched from being a newbie to a veteran. Not that that happened in one day, but you know, in hindsight, hindsight's 20/20 about that. So first, we're going to kind of kick forward, and there's the first video that I'll show you guys.
Don't do anything.
We'll start with this is a motto that we have and joke around in the office about. I'll explain it right after.
I'm going to be your instincts. Truly will be your instincts. Don't do anything. Don't try to surf. Don't do it. The less you do, the more you do. Let's see pop up. Pop it up. That's not it at all. Do less. Get down. Try less. Do it again. Pop up. No, too slow. Do less. Pop up. Pop up. You're doing too much. Do less. Pop down. Pop up now. Stop. Get down. Get down there. Remember, don't do anything. Nothing. Pop up. Well, you got to do more than that, because you're just landing in the ground. Looks like a boogie boarding. Just do it. Feel it. Pop up. That wasn't quite it, but we're going to figure it out there. Let's go surf. Come on. Everybody's learning how. Come on. The weather outside.
Okay, so that's a clip from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So it's just a funny clip. On the back of our shirts, we have to do more because it's kind of a joke when we walk up to one of our job sites and our contractors are doing good and working hard. We tell them to do more. If they're not doing too much, and we tell them to do less. And it kind of just comes from that. It's something me and my buddies kind of just started and it kind of stuff. So as we get into it, for new investors, I'll start with the newbie stuff and kind of we'll walk down the trail and get to the veteran stuff at the end. But for new investors, one of the big things that we started to do that saved us a lot of time and headache is a scope of work. When I presented last time, I touched on this a little bit, but it's a thing that most general contractors do. And if you're not using a general contractor, which most of you probably aren't, and I don't actually recommend you do at the very beginning, you need to do a scope of work just like a general contractor would, because you'll have a clear outline of what you're going to have in a property, how much of it you're going to have, and a better estimate of cost. And even though I can walk into a property in about 5-10 minutes, estimate pretty closely what the repairs are going to be, the scope of work is going to give you a very detailed and dead accurate, hopefully dead accurate amount of what you're going to spend. So yeah, if you go to the okay, so it's better planning so you're not buying everything in the 11th hour. I've said it a couple times to a couple people, but when you do this scope of work, you know everything that you're going to need on the job site up front, and you can buy it in bulk at Home Depot or wherever you're going to go. We don't buy everything at Home Depot, and especially lately we haven't, but whatever you do, you're going to get it at a discount, whether you go and use your on your credit card and you're signing up for the first credit card at Home Depot and then you need a 10% discount, you're going to benefit that way. If you already have a credit card, you go to the bid room, and at the bid room, they're going to give you a discount as well. That discount at the bid room when you make a purchase over, is there a certain amount? Yeah, over $2,500, you have 7 days to go back and even make more purchases that obtain that discount. And see different things there at Home Depot get bigger discounts or less discounts depending on the margins at Home Depot. So there's a benefit there. You'll make less mistakes. You'll keep your contractors more honest because you've already done an inventory about what's needed at the property and have it there. If stuff goes missing, and you tell them this up front, but if stuff goes missing, you kind of have something to go back on and say, where is this? You know, this is your responsibility. And you know, we even went as far as having a pod for a little while where all the materials were kept inside of it and locked up at night, and that way things don't go missing, which wasn't a huge problem, but it's something we tried out, ended up not being necessarily cost effective. We got rid of it, but it also has, as the job site, giving you a clear and concise expectations. The contractors will give you more respect because you're more professional. The more professionalism you put out is the same amount of professionalism you'll get in return as well. So it's a very good thing that if you're if you're seen at a higher level, they're going to perform at a higher level as well. Let's see. It gives you create a timeline as well. So within our scope of work, we also have timelines set out as far as what contractors are going to be in the property, how long they're going to be there, penalties if they finish late. We have rewards if they finish early, depending on the contractor. But right now, we're giving $100 a day penalty, $100 a day bonus, and a week grace period. That's just us. We, depending on the contractor, how fast we feel they can be, or how honest they are, or if we work with them a lot, we'll change that. So we talked about the penalties. See, so we give you an inventory as well. We've kind of covered that, and it should include the details of number of items per room, broken down by room, and you'll have a good, clear, concise overview of all that. So as we dive in, I've got some examples. It's kind of tough to see. Try and go forward and see if those zoom in. There you go. So this is an example of what we have, and it's each item in the home, which room they're in, how many of each item. It's a little bit of work to set it up in the Excel spreadsheet the first time, but after you've done it once, you just save a blank copy, use it over and over. So a quick example of what we have and what items are going to be there. We even have how much our handyman charge per installation item. We preferred when we were using handyman to break them down for each item that they're installing or doing, a cost, a monetary value attached to that. And then we can actually fill in the spreadsheet for what items they're doing and have a number, and like, $1,500 came out and popped out on this deal. So, and actually we have handyman. I put it up on the have-wants that we're not using anymore. So if you guys are handyman, go look at the have-wants. You might get handyman. We can go to the next one. All right, so talked about the Home Depot bonus. That's another bonus that we've already kind of covered, so we'll cruise past that. All right, so next thing is due diligence checklist. A lot of people have a great example that actually happened today that I'll use, because a lot of people kind of skip on the due diligence. They don't want to put a lot of money in up front. They think they know everything, but we still, even though we're using contractors that are licensed, insured, they know their stuff, we still get inspectors in, we still measure every single house, we still do everything. So all of these items are very important. Today, we backed out on a house up in the cove that probably was one of the worst houses I've ever seen after our inspections got done. Up front, it was a remodel that another investor was doing. Hired very, very, very poor contractors to the point that I think the home's in worse condition now than it was when he bought it, because we would have to go in and tear all the walls back down, redo all the electrical. He didn't put insulation on exterior walls, which a lot of older homes don't always have, but when you're remodeling, you do it just because it's easy and cheap and you're already there. We wouldn't have known a lot of this stuff if we hadn't done our due diligence. The sewer line, which probably 90% of you don't check, was cracked. I would say we've had 3 sewer lines in the past 3 months that have had some issues. Go ahead.
How do you check a sewer line?
Good question. So plumbers have a 2-inch camera that they'll put down the sewer line through the clean out and record it. Some have black and white, some have color, some record it, some don't, some have it on jump drives, some have it on DVDs. So our guy does a color, more high, not high def, but more high definition than most, and puts it on a jump drive for us. And we've got a good enough relationship and good enough business that he does those for free for us as well. Most people aren't doing that because they don't care. They're going to be in and out of the property, but we're kind of setting ourselves to a higher standard that we want to provide a really good product to our buyers. And what happened is I had a couple of clients, just regular buyers, that they bought houses that were not, one of them was remodeled, one wasn't, and a couple months after closing, sewer line clogged up, basement flooded, insurance claim, 10 grand. 2 times in a row that happened to 2 of our buyers' clients. One was a remodel, one was an old home. It's because there was damage to the sewer line, which you won't be able to tell unless you scope it. It's a huge, huge deal that you may not have the cost happen to you while you have the property, but it's a big deal to a buyer down the road, and I don't feel comfortable passing that along. It's just a personal preference, but I hope that more and more investors kind of adopt that. But the thing about it is if more and more buyers start knowing about the problems that sewer lines potentially have, they're going to do a inspection and want to fix. I recommend all my buyers to get an inspection of it. I saved 2 of my buyers a lot of money by doing that, because one last month had a whole chunk missing out of it, that in a matter of weeks probably would have collapsed and been a whole clog. So it's a big deal. So let's go forward, and I'll just go. You guys can write down my checklist. Go back one.
How much do they charge usually this scope?
Usually it's $150 per ton. That's probably what you should be paying. You can maybe talk down $100 if you're doing it often, but we're doing it every single property. We're also giving them the business. If you guys want the contact, come talk to me after. If you give him the business and don't go around him afterwards, they are more expensive. It's Roto-Rooter, but it's one guy who's trying to pick up business or Roto-Rooter. But basically, he'll do 8 scopes, and probably one of them will have a serious enough issue that's beyond just a jet and cutting out the roots and stuff, where it's going to be a couple grand, like one that we're doing right now. It's probably about a $4,000 liner. So he made his money back, but I saved it up front, and it comes out even. But I don't want to give it out to people that are just going to hand around and use the free scope and then go get the guy that'll fix it for a grand type thing. So, but write all these down. So every single one of these I check on every single property. We have zoning use. Not as huge of a deal if you're just flipping, but if you're buying rentals or if it's questionable, if it's on a busy street, you want to figure out what the zoning is so that if it is a rental, you can make it the way it is. Matt Atkinson probably can tell you multiple stories where people have gotten multi-unit properties under contract and they're not zoned for what they are built as. The best way to know that you're going to be able to get a loan on that or be able to resell it as that property is going down to the city and getting a rebuild letter for whatever it's listed as. Sometimes the county says it's a triplex, and the tax worker can say it's a duplex, but the city will only give you a rebuild letter for a duplex, and so you can't rent it out legally as a triplex. If you try, if you get caught, you're screwed. You don't want to mess around with it. MetaPest, I think we covered that a ton. It's pretty straightforward. If you're doing it yourself, it's going to cost you, if you set up an account with them, I think it's like $45, $55, unless you're doing high volume, you get it for $35. So, and I'm pretty sure Randall does too. If you're paying an inspector to do it, you're going to be $100, $150 probably. Most you should try and shoot for $100. But those are important. You never want to buy a property and not doing it because it's so cheap and easy. And if your buyer is down the road when you're all finished and it shows up with it, you're screwed. It's your profit to buy. It's so cheap and easy, you just got to do this stuff. You have a well. Not many properties in Utah have wells, but you got to check. So if it has it, you'll want to test the water, see if it's drinkable. If not, it's usually pretty cheap to put in a system that's going to make the water drinkable. You have an appraisal. If I don't know, let's say you're hiring properties, if I don't know what the value is, because it's really hard to value hiring properties, I'll buy an appraisal up front so that I know I'm very confident about what I can sell for later. Also in that appraisal, it does a square footage measurement. Sometimes I'll just order only the square footage measurement. But what I'll do is I'll measure out the property myself, do all the calculations, see if it's close to the county records. If it is, I don't worry about getting a professional opinion. If it isn't, I get a third-party professional opinion to go remeasure it and account for it. If it's high, I don't say anything. If it's low, I go back and negotiate my price lower based on that on a price per square foot basis. So if I'm buying a house at $100 a square foot and it's off 300 feet, I'm going to go get a discount for that 300 feet at $100 a foot. Foundation, usually they're good, but you never know. Hairline track's all right. If there's anything bigger than usually what's like a pencil head that can fit a pencil point through the crack, I'm going to usually get a professional opinion for $150, $175. Get someone out there to see the foundations. You don't want a bad foundation. Main sewer line, we covered that. That's probably the number one thing. I mean, it's very underrated that a lot of people aren't doing. All right, roof inspection. Most inspectors will talk about the roof. They don't know enough about a roof to give you a real solid opinion. We get our roofer to go out at every single property, give us a full report, a bid. If it's good and it doesn't need to be fixed, he gives us a certification that we can give to FHA saying that it will pass FHA approval. That way at the end buyer, we just hand it to them. It's even on the MLS listing sometimes, it's already there, so it's not even a question. It gives more confidence to your end buyer. Property inspection, pretty straightforward. Sometimes we'll add a home warranty. I've talked to a couple people about you can actually use a home warranty during your rehab to cover some items and save some money if you know the home warranty terms well. Talk about the square footage measurement. Home background check. I don't always do this, but in certain neighborhoods I will. Out on the west side, you don't want to buy a house that had criminal activity, had someone killed in, whatever it is, because the neighbors will talk. And any smart buyer goes in, they put an offer in, then they go meet the neighbors. Neighbors talk, they get scared, they think it's haunted, someone got murdered there, who knows. So there's a lot of stories. I haven't had to deal with it, but I don't want. FHA approved condos. You want to call, go to, or actually easier, it's go to the website. Nope, it's not on there. If you just type FHA approved condos in Google, the first thing that comes up, you can type in the condo complex. It'll tell you if it's FHA approved or not. I don't flip condos because they're hard to sell sometimes, especially it can be approved and fall out of approval while you're flipping it, and then you're screwed. So I don't like, just that alone, I don't flip condos, but if you do, you need to check this kind of stuff. Radon and mold, those are fairly easy to, what's the word I'm looking for? Mediate and fix. But we don't do it on every home. I've talked to an inspector like Al Raker at All Points Institute. Yeah. He knows certain areas because he has so many that are higher and lower chances. And you can get it anywhere in any home, but he's told me what areas I'll just call on. Do I need to do a radon test here? No, that kind of stuff. But even radon's fairly cheap. Mold is usually visible, especially if there's a lot of it. So I'm not worried about doing an actual test. You see it, fix it. If an end buyer does a radon test, I'll fix it after that. All right. So big lesson number one, always scope the sewer line. Big lesson number two, always scope the sewer line. I can't stress that enough. It's that picture right there, so the next one. So this is one of the buyers. That's a chunk of the sewer line that broke off. When we scoped it, the guy tried to tell me it wasn't broken. I go, that looks like a hole. And he comes back, he's like, no, it's fine, it's just, roots. He goes in with the there's two types of way to clean out a sewer line. One's with blades, and one's with a coil that just spins and wraps them and rips them out. It's very hard on it. So if you have a brittle clay sewer line that's older, and there's a root and then it rips them out, it'll just rip a chunk out. I told him to use a blade. He went in and used the rip method. And when we went back in to scope it after he cleaned it out to make sure it was good, that was taken out of it. So you got to be careful about who you use and what they're saying. But
you held him responsible, right?
What was that?
You held him responsible, right?
Oh yeah. He fixed it and the seller fixed it. I mean, it wasn't our thing. I actually convinced my buyer to chip in a little bit because I always like to, have everyone play fair. But yeah, it was pretty bad. So I feel good saving my buyer some money in respect to that. So I didn't answer your question earlier. I know we're past it.
Good answer.
Okay, cool. So next one. Big lesson number 3. Always measure the house. Best way to lose money on a house, don't measure it, it comes back smaller. Best way to make money on a house with no money into it, measure a house before you buy it. It's bigger, you don't say anything, you list it for more later, free money. I just had a house that we're under contract on. It was listed for 2,200 square feet on the main level, like 14 below. We picked up 200 above grade, 100 below grade. And in that neighborhood, we're at resell 150 a foot. So 150 a foot plus 200 square feet, I think it's up like $35,000, not touching it. So it's a good thing to do. Lesson number 4, always do a math test. Talk about that. Something. Any questions so far? Everyone staying awake? Am I moving too fast? Yeah?
So your chart, since I'm pretty much blind, will you have a copy of that available?
Yeah, I can give you guys a link after if you want. Just give me your card and I'll send you this presentation. Alright, determining R. This is for newbies. A lot of you guys are afraid of comps. Determining R is a big deal. I'm running short on time, so I'm going to do really fast. But you probably value the home. You need to have MLS access. Whether you have any that works with you or you have access to MLS, you need to do it. Active, sold, and under contracts is what I always pull. appraisers look at properties, because at the end of the day, when you sell the property, who has the final say of what it's worth? The appraiser does. So I figure out what parameters an appraiser is going to value a home at, and that's how I run my comps. A big way to run comps is GLA, which is gross living area, which means any living area above grade. And that's what matters. That's the big number. Is above grade square footage, below grade, not nearly. It's probably valued at like 50% of above grade, I would say. Yeah, so it's a percentage. It's not as much. It's like, yeah, maybe 80% of what above grade gets. So here are the terms I use. I look at gross living area, same property type. I don't care about style. A lot of people say, you know what, it's a tri-level, it has to be a tri-level. When I work with buyers, they don't really say I have to have a rambler. So they're looking at all different types of homes. So I don't care, when I'm comparing homes, I don't care what style. I care about condition and location. Total square foot plus or minus 15% is what I go off of, and mostly just 15% is GLA. If one's got 1,000 square feet in the basement and one's got 500, I don't care. I'm looking at 15% plus or minus upgrade. Number of bed baths has got to be close. Number of day back, I go about 180 unless I need to go back further, I will. Area, I go about 1.5 miles, but I don't do the circle on the radius. I do the 1 mile, so I see how far that is, and then I do the square block, because your divider lines are the square block. Drive them every time. I drive every comp and value my property before I buy it, and I drive all the comps after, and I pull new comps both times because the property will either devalue or gain value during the rehab. And do when you buy on both sides, like I said, do when you buy and sell. Next please. All right, so here's some comps. I wish I could go into it deeper, but we're going to kind of cruise through these. I can kind of explain. This was on a property that we just sold. We got under contract in like, I think, 13 days. We ended up listing it for $25,000 more than we originally did, just because times have changed. And after we saw our finished product compared to what's on the market, we had a better product. And that's a big point that I should make. Not only did the comp change, but a big portion of when you can sell a house is competition. What's listed on the market at the time when you're trying to sell yours? If you're the best home on the market at that time, most buyers haven't been around in the pool long enough to know that there's better houses or worse houses out there and what is priced. They're looking at what's there right now that they can buy and close on. So the inventory, what your competition is. Is this through? 1, 2, keep going. So that's an example of how tight I like them to be on this one. This was a weird area because it's on the hillside, so the streets weren't, it's on Danish Road kind of by the Kai there, and the roads aren't straight like most of Salt Lake in the grid system. But those are all within like 1.5 miles. Good. All right, so now we're on to the veteran thing. So if you've done a couple deals, probably 5 or 10, and you want to step up your game, get out of the rat race, you got to do a couple things. One is other people's money. So you got to find more people that have more money than you, and the more money that you can get, the more houses you'll buy. I am strictly limited to the number of houses that I buy right now by how much money I have of other people's money that we're using. That's the only limiting factor. And you'll be surprised, and you think you won't do it, but if you get money, you will find houses and you will put it into use. It's just a subconscious way that things work. So if you are in a rut, just go find money. And if you have solid money that you know you can use, you'll use it. Traditional lenders don't move fast enough. We use all private money lenders. The way we find them is we talk. All we do is talk to other people. We tell them what we're doing. You have your little elevator speech. We tell them why we're good at what we do. And it's just marketing. And I'm not like pitching people. It's very, very subtle. I'm just talking about it and just saying why. Because I love what I do. I truly do. And when I talk about what I do, people can sense that and they want to be a part of that. They don't want to learn all the details. They want to be real estate investors, but the way they be real estate investors is they loan money. So that's kind of how we do it. If they do express interest in it, I compare it to CDs and savings and all that kind of stuff, and how we're triple, quadruple above that. These are people I'm meeting at parties, at events, at social places, just talking about it. So you got to go out there and just talk to people. You'll be surprised how many people are looking to put their money into something good, especially right now. So the way we structure our lending model, and this is a more important topic that I'll hit on real quickly, is every time we buy a house, we have a motivated system to make us buy more houses, because every time we buy a house, we get more money. So I get a first mortgage lender in first position at between 70 and 90% of purchase price. I have a private individual, so the first individual is what I call soft money. It's a person with a lot of money, a brokering money, or a hard money lender. I call soft money lender. They have better prices. They're in first position. Second position is a private money lender. That's you or you. That's just someone I met at a party or whatever with a smaller amount of cash. They come in second position. They fund the rest of the purchase and the rehab money. So I'm getting typically an average of 120% of purchase price at closing. You can't do that right away until people trust you. And the way people trust you is doing a couple deals, and it's creating a before and after packet, showing them all the details, running them through the numbers, and letting them know you know what you're doing. As soon as they can trust you to do that, you're good to go. And after it just keeps getting better, 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 better. The more houses you do. But we have before and after packets online, on our website. We have a blog across the deals that we're doing. They see we're doing it, they see it, and they know what we're talking about. It used to be a little harder to sell, but now it's easy to sell. Let's see, you're built on your BLT, what we talk about, your believability, your likability, and your trust. If they believe you, and they like you, and they trust you, they will do business with you. Bottom line. Your reputation and investment history will help tremendously. We, as investors, are a little bit higher profile than most investors because we want a good reputation. We work hand in hand with a lot of agents because if you don't like agents, it's not a good thing. Agents are 90% of where you get business if you do it right. So we work with a lot of agents. We get a lot of referrals from agents. I teach at the board. I give free tech classes. I get referrals from that. That deal that I backed out on the code came from a referral. That was a pocket listing from another agent who lived in the area, knew about it. I got it first drafts. So that kind of stuff works. Treat your soft money lenders well. We always pay our guys even if we lose money on a property or not. We give them bonuses if we get a bonus. We kind of share the wealth. Give a bonus to Cody, give a bonus to Hunter, all my guys that work. If we make more money than we had anticipated on, everybody wins. And that's kind of, you gotta treat everybody like that. So you can check out our private money lending guide and give a guide to anyone interested that shows interest. We just give them a packet, they can either download it or give them in person if you want to write down the website. Next, please. Okay, credit. I can tell you right now, credit saved my ass in this business about 3 years ago. When I had to switch from our one investing model to another when the market switched, I guess that's almost 4 years ago now, 07, 08. When you go through a transition in business where you have to change models, income goes down significantly. And we had to ride on credit for a while, and we still ride on credit a lot of the times that we're rolling in it, paying it off frequently, but using it to our advantage because the hardest thing in this business is cash flow. If you can have a ton of credit that you use wisely, it can be a good thing. If you guys have read Robert Kiyosaki, there's good credit and bad credit. And credit that you use to make more money is good credit. If you have credit that just is making less money or accumulating debt is not a good thing. So use a lot of credit. There's personal credit. And they allow you to fund your rehab. If you can find someone to fund your purchase price plus all your rehab, throw it on a Home Depot card or whatever. But make sure you're doing the business right, that right when you close, you pay that off. And you don't have these high interest rates. But there's a lot of credit card offers out that you can use about not paying for 12 months, all that kind of stuff. So we went out and got a ton of credit cards that floated us while we were in a rough time. And if we ever get in a rough time, it floats us. Because this business is all about cash flow. Okay, so once you've been in business for a while, and Matt Atkinson to think about this, is getting business credit. So once you have a good business model and you've been in business for a few years, you want to start taking all the credit off your personal self and getting on your business. And there's a couple of reasons for that. We're doing it mostly for the reason that we want to create personal credit to buy rentals. And also just because I'd rather have it on a company than on a person, on myself. So those two things, if you can master those, will help you tremendously. Next, please. All right, last one for, and we'll wrap it up, is using general contractors. So me and Matt had an argument about this at the meeting, after the meeting last month, about using general contractors versus using your own subs and managing your own subs.
Discussion.
It wasn't discussion. Yeah, Matt never argues, and he's not arrogant either, so. So, what we talked about was that using subs versus using general contractors is a discussion we got in, and what we kind of agreed upon is using subs to start with is a very good idea, and I agree. When you're a newbie, you should use subs. As soon as you become a vet, you should use a general contractor. And why that is it's your best use of time, okay? And so when you're starting, it takes a lot of time to manage all of those subs, but you need to do it so you learn what prices, what things will get done for and what prices to pay for stuff, okay? And you won't know that until you do it. So you need to do it, you have to run through it. You do 5 or 10 deals is what we kind of agreed upon, is at least 5, you know, probably 10 depending on your confidence level. After that, you go use a general contractor. That's not the general contractor, like the property we just started or a couple weeks ago. One bid from the contractor that we are using was 80, yeah, 80. The other bid was 130. So there's good ones and bad ones, but you've got to go through them all and get them. This guy sees the vision, knows where you've got 6 houses on the go right now. He wants to stay busy, he wants to keep his guys busy. Plus he sees our quality of work. He wants to be part of the team. We have a high quality of finish, we know what we're doing, he sees it, he gives us better prices because of it. So there's a huge benefit to being professional and knowing your stuff, because you will get better prices if those people are on the same level with you, on the same wavelength. It frees up your time. Now, Cody, I was the project manager 2 years ago and doing all the subs. I then gave it off to Cody, my partner, and he was managing all the subs. It freed up my time so I could focus on higher ROI stuff and revenue generating activities as far as what I was doing on a daily basis. Now, we have a general contractor. He's better off doing higher revenue generating activities as well and not being bogged down by contractors. And if you get a guy that's good enough, he will make more money. I can do 6 projects at once with subs. It would be a nightmare. Now that I hand it off, all we're involved in is design, concept, and approval. And that's it. And then we just move on. And so it's like, boom, we do most of that within the first 2 weeks of the property, hand it off, check off on it a couple of times a month, and you're pretty much good to go. So I think I covered mostly everything on there. Yeah, so show them a couple of, if you're going to use general contractors, show them your homes that you've done so that they know your quality that you expect, and go look at the houses they've done to see if you guys meet up or if they can do the quality that you're expecting. And you got to test it out on a small, low price home. Do not test it out on a $500,000, $100,000 rehab. Not good. Test it out on a $200,000 house or $50,000 house. That way you'll know if you're compatible. Less time writing checks. We write 1 big check every couple of weeks. And less complex SOI. You now pass that scope of work that I talked about onto somebody else. You don't have to do that anymore. And you can easily ramp up your business. Like I said, I'm doing 2 to 3 times more than I was 6 months ago. Less stress, more sleep, which is what it's all about. More vacation, all that good stuff. So that is my presentation. Hopefully, do you guys have any more questions?
What's your website?
It's movere.com. So MUVERE.com.
How do you compensate your general contractor? Compensate your general contractor?
Most of our general contractors we had gotten down to, we've got every property bid out, and our handyman, since we use them more often, we even went one step further and they were bidding out every common item so that it was a standard on every property. But every sub, we would just get bids every time, as long as it fit within our budget, it worked, and we kind of knew a general amount of what it should be, and if it wasn't there, we'd work it down, that kind of stuff. And then once you get a general contract, you don't really have to worry about it. The nice thing is, I know a number of what I have to remodel to make money. If he meets that number, I don't care what he makes. He can make $3,000, he can make $10,000. I don't care. I just want it done on my timeline, at that price, and we're good to go. We sign contracts for that. Oh, so MOVE doesn't necessarily stand for anything. It's just a good acronym that describes the business as far as people moving up, moving down, moving on. And we have our company MOVE, which does have an acronym, but MOVE just is a good explanation of what we do.
Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate it. Okay, our next sponsor is Eric Tolman. Eric, you want to come up front?
Are you guys ready to rock? This is stupid. Anyway, you got the little clicker for me? Thanks. You gave away the answer. Hopefully you all saw the answer, right? What's the number one rule in investing? What is it? Anybody got anybody got the answer for it?
Don't lose money.
Make money when you buy.
Make money when you buy. Is this the forward button here? Okay.
Good start.
Spend less and earn more. Yeah. It's supposed to be funny, and I don't thought it was funny. But anyway, that's what I get for checking with Rando. Anyway, I'm a real estate agent, and I'm not here to talk to you about investing. I'm not